Breaking news. So there is something currently happening in Bolivia, and I'm going to tell you. So there is a wave of political unrest. It's even sweeping across Bolivia. Currently, as nationwide protests and roadblocks have brought major parts of the country to a standstill. That is, the major roads that are in Bolivia are being on standstill because the Bolivian citizens and protesters say their president must step down. There must be a step down and resignation by their president. Who is this their president? Rodrigo Paz. They say we don't want it again. The demonstration reflects deepening political tensions, economic frustration, and growing mistrust between the sections of the population and even the government. So from early morning, major transport routes, that's major places motors are supposed to pass and go and do their daily business, those major routes were disrupted as protesters used tires to block the road. They use rocks to block the road. They use vehicles and block the road, and even makeshift barriers to block, roads connecting to the cities and rural areas, even commercial corridors. They don't want any passage. Their president must step down. In several regions, there is something happening. Public transport was even halted. There will be no pass. Supply chains were even interrupted. That means no business is going to go on. And even commuters, that is, people were forced to turn back and take long detour. Guys, the strike has quickly evolved beyond isolated demonstrations into coordinated national, national movement with unions, civic groups, and even opposition supporters joining the protests. Their central demand is the resignation of their president, that is, whom they accuse of failing to address economic problems, economic hardship, economic frustration, raising living costs, even and political instability. There is a political instability in Bolivia, and that is the more reason their citizens are protesting. They say, Oga, Madam, you must step down for us. We don't want you again. But what is happening? How do they handle this issue? Like, let me still go on. On the other side, Bolivia government has called for calm and analog dialogue. They want to converse with these people. They want to dialogue with the protesters. They want to, calm the protesters down. They are urging protesters leaders to return to negotiations rather than escalate disruptions that affect ordinary citizens. This should not actually affect the ordinary citizens. Officials warn that prolonged roadblocks could actually worsen shortage of food, problem, economic damage, and even damage or deepen social division. There might be a big problem that can actually worsen the relationship even among the citizens. Normal civilians will be affected. People that actually rely on businesses to get their daily bread might be affected because there will be no road for them to pass and do their daily business. But something is happening. Security forces have been deployed in some areas, to manage road access and prevent clashes, but tensions, remain high as both sides hold firm to their positions. The government is holding firm to their position, while these protesters are holding firm to their positions too. So that means none of them are already giving up immediately, in as much as the government have sent the security to go to some of the areas and handle some situations very carefully. So at this heart of unrest is a broader political and economic crisis. Bolivia has faced a recurring instability in the recent years. Disputes over governance, inflation pressures, the problem of unemployment concerns are growing among the citizens, and even debate over resource management, particularly in sectors like natural gas, mining, which are vital to the country's economy. So what are the government doing? For many citizens, the roadblocks are not just, political statements, but also a reflection of daily hardship that is happening. They are not happy. The hardship is raising prices for food. The hardship is raising prices for transportation. Basic goods have added to frustrations. This has even added to people's frustration. You see somebody getting angry unnecessarily. It's because of hardship. Most of the times, the citizens don't find it very funny. So most of these things can actually contribute to citizens not being happy. Transportations going high, and traders say they are being, hit hardest by the paralysis of movement, with goods unstable, unable to reach the destinations or reach the markets, and even economic activities slowing down. So as this matter is serious. Where the situation becomes more complex than a simple political standoff. Where On one hand, that's on the other hand, I'm going to tell you that protests and roadblocks are a long-standing feature of Bolivia political expressions. In the past, this has been their way of showing that they are not happy. So similar movements have played a key role in forcing government change and influencing national policy decisions. On the other hand, prolonged blockade could also often carry serious economic consequences. Yes, it could. That this appropriately affect ordinary citizens, and that is making businesses not to sell. Because when roads are blocked, where are you going to pass your goods to go and sell or even make money? So political analysts say that the current crisis reflects a deeper issues, a lack of trust in institutions, and when governments are and the opposition group fall in to maintain dialogue, street protests often becomes the main channel for political pressure. Of course, even when they disrupt daily life on national scale. The only way they could actually drag the government attention maybe is by blocking the road though. Because if there's no blockade, maybe government attention might not be gotten so easily. So the government called for dialogue, suggests an attempt to de-escalate this tension that is already coming up. The government is calling on these protesters to come. But the success of such effect depends on whether protesters leads are willing to negotiate. If they are willing to actually talk with the government, whether both sides can find something to ground on economic and governance reform. International observers are watching closely. Of course, they will be watching as prolonged instability in Bolivia could affect investors' confidence. It could affect the regional economic stability, even in South America. Sorry. So that's a huge issue. What is happening right now, what is unfolding in Bolivia, is a familiar pattern in many political divided societies. Looking at what is happening, when trust in leadership erodes, the streets become the negotiation table. When roadblocks are not just physical barriers, do you understand? They are political signals. They show a breakdown in institutional dialogue, where citizens feel their own remaining leverage is disruption. But the cost of what strategy is also immediate and widespread. Looking at it, it affects the same public the protests claim to represent. The government's response, calling for dialogue, is the right formal step. At least they recognize the protesters by saying, come, there should be a dialogue. But this dialogue will work only when both sides believe compromise is possible. Only when both sides is ready. If opposition groups see resignation as only solution, it will if the government sees protests as illegitimate pressure, then the circle tends to harden rather than resolve. Do you think it's going to this means that the protesters have taken is going to help resolve the issue? So the deeper issue here is economic pressure, meeting political frustration, inflation, unemployment, the cost of living concerns the people, often acts as fuel for political movements, and once they merge with demands for leadership, that leadership change should be done in Bolivia. The situation becomes harder to de-escalate. Bolivia's challenge now is not only about ending the roadblocks. It's not just calming down the protesters. It's about rebuilding political trust. Do you understand? They need to make their people believe in them again. Without that, even if there is this strike ends, even if this blockage on the road ends, the conditions that caused it are likely, to reappear in another form. So the government needs to make the people understand that they are with them, they are ready to listen to them, they are ready to understand them and do what they want. These are ways that which the protesters and the citizens, civilians could actually listen, understand and try to adjust. If not, something like this could actually reappear on the surface next time. Anyways, I'm going to stop here because I don't want this video to be too long and I'm going to keep you guys updated on latest information. Just stay tuned.